All right, it is 5:31 on Monday, March 31st. I will now call the Select Board meeting to order. If you can please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So our first appointment is with John Matthews, but he did email myself and Kathy and say that he couldn't be here till 6:30. So if the board is okay, we're just gonna table that until he gets here. He had some questions for us, but he had a prior engagement that came up. So next, which we only have about 3 minutes before that meeting, but at 5:35 is to approve and sign the 2025-2027 MSBA Statement of Interest. So did everyone get a chance to read that?
I did.
Any questions for the superintendent or the business manager? They are present for that letter.
One for me.
I think my only question was, because the kitchen project has not been finished, that doesn't have to be on there, right? As an update, it's once the update has occurred, then you add it on there?
Yeah.
Okay. So this was actually last year, so hold on 1 second. She has a statement, which I don't know if the statement has changed or not. So this is the statement for this year. When we make the motion. Sorry, this is the one I had to read.
Okay, to whom it may concern, having convened in an open meeting on March 31st, 2025, prior to the SOI submission closing date, the Granby Selectboard, excuse me, of Granby, Mass, in accordance with its charter bylaws and ordinance has voted to authorize.
So let's hold off on that. Chris, we've got to vote first to authorize it, and then we read the letter. And then you guys give me permission to sign it on behalf of the select board.
Well, he can read what's going to be done. Just
Okay.
This is what you're going to be considering.
Okay.
So in case anybody has a question in the audience as you go
Okay.
through it.
As I get through it, okay. Has voted to authorize the superintendent to submit to the Mass School Building Authority the statement of interest form dated March 31st, 2025 for the Granby Junior Senior High School located at 387 East State Street, Granby, Mass. 01033. Which describes and explains the following deficiencies and the priority categories for which an application may be submitted to the Mass School Building Authority in the future. Replacement, renovation, or modernization of school facility systems such as roofs, windows, boilers, heating and ventilation systems to increase energy conservation and decrease energy-related costs in a school facility. Replacement of or addition to obsolete buildings in order to provide for a full range of programs consistent with state and approved local requirements, and hereby further specifically acknowledges that by submitting this statement of interest form, the Mass School Building Authority in no way guarantees the acceptance or approval of an application, the awarding of a grant, or any other funding commitment from the Mass School Building Authority or commits the Granby School District to filing an application for funding with Mass School Building Authority.
So this just keeps us in the pool in case we want to do any kind of renovations or get any funding from the state.
It's usually good for 1 year.
It's now 2 years.
Starting this year is being a
20.
2-year cycle.
Okay.
I don't have any questions. I read the report. It looks pretty similar. I don't think anything actually has changed from last year because I haven't done any renovations, so. So I will entertain a motion.
Can I ask one question?
Yes,
Madam
absolutely.
Chair? As part of the, if we do get into the pipeline, what is the projected cost of feasibility study at this point? You don't have that? Because I know a couple of years back it was like $3 million to conduct a feasibility study for it. So the only concern I have is the town willing to go forward and make a commitment towards schools to conduct that level or that cost of a feasibility study prior to being able to receive funding from the MSBA.
But that would be something that would have to go in front of the taxpayers, right, to
It will,
decide.
but I'm just
Okay.
letting you know that there could be a potential of $3 million cost upfront
Yeah.
before you could even be considered in the actually funding sequence.
And I think when I read it, if I read it correctly, it just keeps us at the top of the list so that we don't end up at the bottom of the list. So it's not,
Mhm.
it's not guaranteed like it says as far as funding. It just kind of keeps us in the pool. But I understand what you're saying too, Chris, but that would still require a special town meeting in order for us to allocate the funds, even if we do. So if we get that opportunity and it's something that the taxpayers want to move forward with, they would have to, or we would have to have a special town meeting for it.
Just putting out the financial ramifications.
And then the special town meeting is 2,000 to have, right?
What?
How much is it to have a special town meeting? Because I think when we talked about funding,
Oh, the cost?
yeah.
The cost of a town meeting can run yours between $2,000 and $3,000.
Okay. Until, I know we didn't get to speak to Mr. Matthews yet about it, but until we develop a charge for the high school options and we develop that committee, I think, I don't want to get rid of our options. I want to keep our options open. I don't know how the other two board members feel.
I agree with that.
No, I think it's important to keep our options out there right now. And you never know what the future's gonna hold,
Yeah.
so. It's a plan for it, and I think this was part of keeping everything on the table. I
Yep.
think as we move forward.
And so, ready for a motion?
Yep.
I will make a motion to approve and sign the 2025 to 2027 MSBA Statement of Interest.
I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion?
No discussion?
All in favor?
Aye.
So I did notice on the letter that we're signing, it's all three of us, but on the packet, you need one signature?
They're gonna send that electronically, I mean,
Okay. So the chief executive officer would be our town administrator?
it will have to be typed from him, you, and I believe, the school board chair.
Okay.
But that will be electronic. Once all things are submitted, they will electronically ask for your signatures.
Okay, so Chris, do we need to make a motion for you to
To
do that?
authorize the town administrator to sign on behalf of the town. And I think it's the chair of the board.
Well,
I thought it was the superintendent.
Chair,
Yes.
chair of the school
Chair of the
committee,
school
and superintendent.
And then the CEO of The town.
The town, which would be the town administrator.
So you're gonna authorize the town administrator to execute the SOI.
You can make that motion, Dave, if you want to.
I will make a motion to authorize the town administrator to
Electronically sign.
electronically send the SOI to the Mass School Board Authority, School Building Authority, excuse me,
To sign on the.
to sign on the town's behalf, along with the school committee chair and superintendent.
We're just approving for,
The select board.
for the town administrator.
Yes.
And I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion?
No discussion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do either of you need your copy of the letter now, or are you gonna pick it up later from Chris?
I think we made it stamped by Kathy. So
Okay.
tomorrow.
That was sign it. Oh,
Well, he's doing the electronic one. Yeah, we did the letter, he's doing the electronic one.
I'll go with the Kathy's tomorrow.
I'm sorry?
I'll bring it to Kathy.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, so I don't want to cut you guys short. Did you have anything else for the MSBA or anything? We're good. Okay. All right, so we are now it's 5:43. Our next meeting is at 5:45 for the select board, to hold a continued public hearing on Monday, March 17th at 6 p.m. So that's supposed to be, say, 31st?
Well, let's continue.
Okay, from that time. Okay. At 10B West State Street, Senior Center Building, to consider the transfer of retail section 12 wine and malt beverage on premises, license from Martitas Pizza Incorporated doing business as Pizza Palace to Amore Incorporated doing business as Pizza Palace. 2, to consider Murat Kant as manager for Amore Incorporated. Premises described as follows: 1-story building with 2 bathrooms. Main entrance in front of building, exit in rear, located at 31 West State Street, Granby, Mass. 01033. So, is Mr. Murat Kant here. Hi.
Hi.
Welcome. Can you come and have a seat at the table?
Oh, first.
Thank you.
Hi.
All right.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
All right, so you're the new manager of Pizza Palace.
I am the new owner and new manager.
Oh, nice. Welcome.
Thank you.
Very nice. All right. So this was not sent to us electronically, so if you guys want to take a look at it. These two. Thank you. So we're just transferring the license over from one owner to another?
Motion.
Yep.
I will make a motion to transfer the license to Murat Kant for Pizza Palace.
Yeah, address 31.
31 West State Street, Granby, Mass. 01033 for wine and malt beverages on premises. License from Martitas Pizza Incorporated, doing business as Pizza Palace, to Amore Incorporated, doing business as Pizza Palace, and to consider Murat Kant as manager for Amore Incorporated. One-story building with 2 bathrooms, main entrance in front of building, exit and rear, and located at the 31 West State Street address.
I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion?
Any discussion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations on taking over the business.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I know it's like big responsibility.
Yeah.
You know, it's not that easy.
No, it's not easy running a restaurant.
How many weeks have you had it so far?
It's been 2 months.
Month? Oh, okay.
2 months, and I got robbed recently. I don't know if you heard or not.
I did, yes. That is terrible.
Hopefully that never happens again.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Pizza Palace has been around many, many years in the town of Granby.
I heard a lot of stories about it. You know.
Years. 50 years.
50 years?
Yeah, 50 years since like the 70s.
Put it this way, I remember going there when I was much, much, much younger.
All right, so Kathy will print up the license for you and have it for you later this week?
No, now I have to go to.
A, B, C, C?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
All
Am I
right.
all set?
Yeah, I'll
Yes,
sec-
you are all set.
I get
Thank
around
you.
the store. Should I wait here or like do I need to wait here or?
No,
No, you're all set.
All right.
yeah, you're all set.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm good.
Have a good night.
You as well. Thank you.
Do we have any citizen participation tonight?
Nothing was filed with it, no.
And do you have anything for us tonight?
Just a couple things. First is, I did attend a Zoom meeting with Mass DOT. They are already starting to plan the next phase of the 202 project. They're looking at April of 2027 to start work in front of Dufresne Park. Now, the only concern I have there is Charter Day. If we're holding Charter Days, is that going to affect us and the ability to do traffic control if they have the area
Yeah.
going up? So we should probably keep an eye on that project and relay our concerns to them at some point during the process.
When you were on the Zoom meeting, Chris, did you get a DOT number or a contact of the lead person in charge?
They gave me a link to go back, and if you want, I can forward the link to you, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, because just to keep whoever's in charge appraised of when the town annual fair is, so they
Right.
can plan for it now. Because I know once they get too far in the project, there's no working around any of that. It is
And
where
that's,
it
and that's
is.
the problem, that's why it's a
Yeah.
concern of mine, because I believe they're also gonna be replacing guardrail down Kendall Street where it connects to 202 too. So,
Because they were also going to do a cross there, right? With the
Yeah.
lights.
yeah, so it's just, it's very,
Okay.
it's a project that we should keep an eye on,
Yeah, it
Yeah.
could cause a lot of interference there.
yes.
They haven't discussed when they're gonna finish up the
Well,
current project?
Well, there's a sign out there on 202, I think they're planning on doing paving April 7th to the 11th.
I didn't
There's
see the
a
dates, but-
sign that's up on 202, I saw
Okay.
it this afternoon when I came through.
Oh,
They just put it up recently?
Yes, I think it went up today. It wasn't there this
Oh,
morning.
okay.
It wasn't there this morning when I went by, but this
Right.
afternoon it was up.
Correct.
okay.
So
And
I
that would be
think,
the Amherst Street coming on to
right, I think
202.
they're gonna do all the paving, get that all taken care of. So hopefully that project will be done soon.
So when you say they're doing in front of Dufresne Park, are they going to do the sidewalks from here to the park? Or are they starting at the park and working their way back this way?
This is an initial meeting, so I really
Okay.
don't have a good feel for what they're doing. They're just laying out like the area they were gonna be working on.
Yeah,
So basically, I think it's gonna be a continuation of this, then up past Dufresne, so.
okay.
I know they were talking about moving telephone poles, telephone wires, things of that nature, so, and they were gonna be putting in the bike lane, sidewalks, things.
And
of
I
that
do
nature.
remember a lot of residents got the letter saying they were gonna take a certain portion of their, or frontage of their property.
I don't know what they're gonna do,
Yeah.
because they really identify, but personally, I think they could, if they wanted to do it as sidewalk, they could go up along Dufresne Park, and that wouldn't impact that many of the residents, because most of it is town-owned land, so,
Yeah.
you know, we could make that suggestion along the way.
Okay. And anything else?
And the other item is we did receive certified mail with another list of complaints against the wine house that I will be forwarding to the council, special council to review. The only other thing I want to report is the FY '26 budget is almost done. It's been a long, arduous journey, trying to get it done in 1 week. I am currently just going through the final numbers, and then I will bring the packet to the board. I do know the finance committee is chomping at the bit to get a hold of it also. So I will probably give it to you and the finance committee at the same time due to the time constraints we have coming up for the May 10th meeting, I think it is, second Monday in May.
And I know so far we've only met with Dave from Highway. So the other board or the other departments will meet with in one night is.
I was wondering if the board wants to do a special meeting to meet with the boards or those two final departments or
Yeah.
three departments. And then myself present the budgets that are under the control of the selectmen, so you can have an idea of what's in the budget.
I think that's a good idea instead of trying to put it in on our regular meeting.
Because it's, gives us a time to focus on that versus other, things going on in the meeting, so.
So I don't know what your schedules are like.
Were you thinking next week, Chris, or this week?
You tell me. Probably next would be better.
Okay. We have this special town meeting on Tuesday.
Yeah.
I could do Thursday next week.
So you want to do the 10th?
And I think, Glenn, you're gone on Monday, right?
Yes.
Okay. Are you gone the whole week? I can't remember, I'm sorry.
No.
Okay. So would Thursday the 10th be okay, or is that?
I'm open on Thursday.
Can we start earlier than normal?
You tell me what time you want to start.
That's Kristen. Dated.
Yeah, I can start earlier.
I would have to reschedule my daughter's horseback riding, but I could start earlier.
What time do you want to start?
You thinking like 4, 4:30, 5? Like how early?
What time are you thinking? I don't want to put you out. You gotta schedule something.
Probably the earliest I could get here is 4:30 or 5. Between there.
Yeah, well, just do 5 o'clock.
Okay.
Just a little extra time.
So Thursday, April 10th, 5 o'clock. And Chris, that will be the police department. So we only met with Dave. So we've got the police department.
Did you meet with Council on Aging by chance?
No, we didn't.
All right, so it'll be Council on Aging. Jeremy can't make tonight, so it'll be Jeremy.
Okay, maintenance.
Then it'll be the police department, fire department. And then, until you get tired of hearing me talk, your budgets.
Okay.
Their budgets are already set, correct? They're lying.
The which ones?
Their budgets are already set.
They're in the budget right now, but if you decide to make cuts, you can.
And we have to see what what we're working with from
Yeah.
all the departments first.
Yes.
But I'd like to see them before that meeting.
Oh, yeah, I can forward them to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we decided on 5?
Yeah.
5.
On April 10th.
Yeah, got it.
Great. Anything else?
No, that should do it.
Okay. So next on the agenda is to accept departmental reports.
I will make a motion to accept the departmental reports.
I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion?
No discussion?
I don't know, Dave, if you got to see Jeremy's response back to the 2 questions that you had.
I did, yep. And
Um.
so I mean, after reading his response, I think it makes more sense to leave the systems as they are
Yeah.
rather than trying to interrupt them and changing the energy management system essentially all around to accommodate a little bit of lighting that
I
we're
was
trying
gonna
to
say, it
save
can be
a few
pretty-
dollars on.
Pretty pricey.
It would be
'Cause
pricey, yes.
just for that one unit at the police department, it was $3,000.
Correct. And it was only
So-
for five lights.
Yep.
So I don't know that it's worth it to do it. And the library would be much more because it is in the energy management system already, which they would have to separate everything, so. I think we should leave it as it is.
I think so too. I think it's just gonna cost too much money. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next is to sign and to approve and sign, sorry, maintenance warrants.
Okay, I will make a motion, the town of Granby authorize for payment warrant number 58S dated 3/21/2025 with a total disbursement for warrant 58S of $203,288.04.
I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion?
No discussion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
I will make a motion, the town of Granby authorize for payment warrant number 58 dated 3/21/2025 with a total disbursement for warrant 58 of $272,552.80.
I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion? Chris, I just had a question on the Friends for Granby Vets. Is that something that we annually pay out to them?
No.
Okay,
What that was is they had received a state grant. First half payment was $5,000. We received that, but it comes to the town of Granby.
okay,
So what they're requesting is to have that 5,000 turned over to their control. And
okay.
that's all that $5,000 payment is. moving the funds that we received on the state grant they applied for and received to their
Okay.
control.
And then, we haven't dealt with them on the select board, Sidel and Sidel, is that, who uses them?
Stadell and Stadell
Yeah.
is used by our treasurer.
Okay,
He deals with any of the tax title, tax foreclosures, and
Okay.
any other type of things of that nature.
sorry, last question, and Attorney August, we're good to go on that cable? I know he was waiting to hear back from the representative from Comcast, last I heard.
I believe we're close.
Okay,
I had backed out when I
yeah,
semi-officially
retired,
retired. I know he was supposed to be dealing with IRA. I don't think he did, so I'm gonna get back in touch with him. I
okay,
believe there was another offer on the table from Comcast that I thought was gonna be a good medium offer against what we were looking for. But I just want to talk to him and get his opinion on it, so.
okay.
I will probably have something ready for the next meeting to move forward.
And I know you're just coming back on, Chris, as our interim, but we never did get the RFP from the old waste management to start our trash.
I gave it to Kathy. I thought she printed it out.
Yeah.
We have the old one for the RFP?
Yeah,
I gave her a paper copy.
Okay, so as far as the next steps though, we've not, and I know we were working on the budget, so we've been doing the budget stuff, but you said that that is an 18-month process that we needed to get
easily.
started back in January.
All right, so I didn't know what you have done since I left, okay, for
Okay.
basically almost 2 months. So what I will do is I will get a hold of Susan Waite at DEP. She is our rep for municipal solid waste in the Western Regional Office. Ask her to maybe come and meet with me and the new administrator, Tammy, to start moving forward on how we can get DEP assistance to get this contract out and awarded and signed and in place before July 1, 2026.
I do remember that now, Kathy, because you also gave us a pamphlet from Republic that wanted to come back, and that was a while ago.
Yeah, they had a picture
Yeah.
of the new truck.
Yes, they're showing us all their new energy efficient trucks. Okay. All right, so possible assistance from DEP on that then.
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It had to have been at least a month ago, if not a month and a half ago, right, Kathy? I think it just fell off with everything else we had going on.
6 weeks.
Do you need another copy sent to you guys electronically?
I don't ever delete an email, so I just have to control F and find it.
Okay, no, I'm just curious if you want.
I have it all also.
Okay.
Yeah, we just had on our old business curbside collection, and we just wrote January on it, so we got the paperwork, we just didn't initiate anything.
Okay, I will make a motion, Town of Granby authorized for payment, payroll account summary, Town of Granby warrant number 59, dated 3/25/2025. With a total disbursement on that of $448,912.13. And it is, hold on 1 second. It's payroll warrant 25-59.
I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion?
No discussion.
I will abstain from the teacher and the select board salary. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Dave and I will vote on necessity for the select board salaries.
Thank you, Glenn.
Yes, thank you.
I will make a motion, the town of Granby authorize for payment warrant number 60 dated 3/28/2025 with a total disbursement for warrant number 60, $652,605.79.
I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next is to discuss the special town meeting articles for April 7th, April 8th, that should say, correct?
Yes.
Okay, April 8th, 2025. All right, so for these articles, we did already approve them, so what are we discussing?
All right.
Okay,
If you notice out there on the article, we just identify any and all available funding sources.
Yep.
So in looking at our finances and looking at what's available, what we'll be doing is taking money out of our municipal building stabilization fund and our capital needs stabilization. Those will be used to reduce the amount required from debt service. Okay. When we vote this article at town meeting, its passage or its authorization, the authorization will be subject to the successful passage of a Proposition 2.5 debt exclusion vote to be held along with the annual town election. I think it's May 17th, 19th. Okay, third Monday in May. Okay. There's been a lot of confusion where they think a debt exclusion vote's gonna be held the night of town meeting. We're not doing it. All right? We've had a lot of calls into the office. There is confusion. So the issue is we will, hopefully, town meeting will authorize the appropriation subject to the successful passage of a Proposition 2.5 debt exclusion vote to be held at the annual town election. Now, if the vote fails, means the appropriation is null and void. If the vote passes, then we proceed forward to issuing of debt in the amount that will be necessary to cover the cost of the project.
now for the article to pass on town floor, does that have to be a 2/3
It's a
majority?
2/3 vote because it's a borrowing article. And then the second article on there is to, if Article 1 fails, to address the demolition, the abatement of hazardous materials and demolition of the building. Again, we didn't, when talking with the finance committee chair, we don't want it to languish. If it doesn't pass to do the renovations, we don't want it to continue to sit there.
Yeah.
Because as a vacant building, that's costing me about $25,000 to $30,000 a year to insure. So it would be better to knock it down, level the site, and then wait to see what the town wishes to do regarding municipal offices at that point.
And the land would remain in our possession.
It's our possession, it's our land. Okay? And if the town then decided to sell the property for whatever, they could do that. If they wanted to develop it, they could do that. That'll be a decision of the Board of Selectmen as to how they want to proceed with that parcel of land.
Now, question, Chris, because this, I've had a couple of people come and ask me this. So say the Article 1 passes at special town meeting, it gets to the ballot box and it fails.
Then it's the way we're gonna word the motion, it's only is approved upon the successful passage of a Proposition 2.5 debt exclusion vote. So if it fails at the ballot box, then the appropriation is null and void.
And then that Article 2, because if Article 1 passes, then Article 2
We're
is,
not gonna address Article 2.
right, so,
Okay, because we're not gonna say, bring it forward to the ballot box and then knock it down. What
Right.
we're gonna do is say, if Article 1 passes, don't bring up Article 2. Because there's no need to address it, because that's basically our safety valve. So if it fails to do the renovation, okay, we are now having a second plan of action for that site.
But I guess I'm not hearing correctly. So at the town meeting, if the first part passes,
If first article passes, we're not gonna address the demolition.
why wouldn't we? Because when it comes up to the ballot box and if it doesn't pass there, there's
Because
no-
I'm not gonna have enough money to appropriate stabilization fund monies towards a renovation project and then double appropriate it for demolition of a building.
So,
I only have so much money in stabilization.
okay, so, but if it fails at the ballot box.
Then what we will do is come forth with a June special town meeting for demolition at that point in time.
it can't just be added to the annual town meeting?
No, because the annual town meeting is gonna be posted for May, the
first
second
part.
Monday in May.
The first.
No, the whole warrant has to be
Okay.
posted as one,
Okay, but
okay?
there's a
So,
part 1, part 2.
right,
Gotcha.
so knowing that we're gonna have a part 2 probably June 9th.
Yeah.
We can schedule a special town meeting to address the demolition at that point, if it fails at the ballot box. And if the Board of Selectmen does not wish to bring it forth to a second vote. Which you can do. You can hold a second vote within 45 days of failure of a first vote, if you so desire.
Ballot.
Right,
Ballot vote?
yes. If it fails at the ballot box, if it fails at the annual election, you can then call another special election 45 days after that failure to try and run it again by the voters. But that's a call of the Board of Selectmen at that point in time. I know it's confusing, but
Yeah,
Well, it's not really confusing, it's just, we just, it just
it
seems that
delays it.
it delays it, we'll have to, if it doesn't pass the ballot box, then we're gonna pay to have a special town meeting after that, just for that piece.
yes,
Decide what we're gonna do with the school.
yes.
If-
Or you can just wait until the next annual town meeting, or the next time you hold a special town meeting.
But then,
You don't have to call a special
Right.
one just for that one topic.
but then it's sitting there, like you said, being insured.
30,000.
Yes,
in the summer you don't have to heat it, but there's other costs that go into maintaining it and stuff too, so.
Well, that would all stay in effect until, if it gets to that point, if the building is gonna be demolished,
Yeah.
I mean, there's gonna be a time frame, bids and all that for that part anyway, so.
Okay.
Okay,
That's
so
true.
that's all I'm saying is, we don't have to call a special one for a one article meeting. We can just delay it until whenever you're gonna decide. A lot of times you hold one in December.
But why are you holding it in June at the annual?
If they're calling a second ballot vote,
Oh,
okay, they decide to go that route. We don't know what the effect is gonna be of a second ballot vote until after the June special town meeting. Because 45 days after the other one is gonna be close to July. No time to hold a special town meeting in the current fiscal year.
So Chris, on the May 18th, election, that's when this is gonna be a question
Yes,
on, the ballot.
yes.
And then you said it needs to be posted for annual town meeting when?
Annual town meeting is posted 7 days before the meeting.
Okay. Should be pushing it, but you could. I'd be pushing it.
Because, no, annual town meeting is held the second Monday in May.
Oh, he said May 31st.
No,
No, okay.
I don't have a phone.
no. By our bylaws state our annual town meeting is supposed to be
Yes,
held the
May
second
12th.
Monday in
No, I
May.
gotcha. That was the last one.
We are holding the vote the third Monday in May.
Yep.
So the annual town meeting warrant will have already been posted. It fails on the third Monday in May. We can have a special town meeting warrant ready to be posted, to be held in conjunction with the second half of the annual town meeting, which is gonna probably be the second Monday in June,
Okay.
okay? Again, that option disappears if you're gonna wanna hold another election, called a second election, 45 days after the May failure, potential failure of the vote.
Not an election.
Not, no.
Okay, so if you.
No, it's an election, well, it is an election because it goes to the voter. We don't call it a special town meeting, it's a special election. Because they're voting an article that'll affect them. It goes out to the electorate. It does not, it's just not held at a town meeting.
It would be May 19th, not the 18th, because the 18th is the Sunday.
Correct.
All right.
Are you fairly clear on the process?
Think so.
Yes, yes. But it comes down to because technically you can't appropriate the money twice. right?
Correct,
So that's why you have to wait.
correct. Okay?
Okay.
I'm just trying to clear this up for the voters out there, because like I said, we've been getting calls.
Yeah.
No, I think it was clear when we first started discussing it, and what the process was. And I think some people put out some misinformation, and then
Not confused.
people got confused and started asking questions. But when this first started being discussed, we went through the process exactly what you just said,
Right.
except the second vote piece. We didn't talk about that, but it would go to town floor, and if the town floor passed it, it would go to a
A vote.
vote at the town election time.
Correct.
That we discussed. That's been the case since it first came up for discussion. I think some information got out there that started saying that wasn't the case, so,
Mhm.
but it still is what's
Yes.
taking place.
All right. Any other questions or anything else about the special town meeting?
Can I just know who's presenting it? Do you know yet? Who's presenting the motion?
We didn't
We
discuss
did not discuss that yet. Usually we There's only 2 articles, but we usually share
Right.
who reads the articles.
Well, someone who reads it and someone who
Explains
reads
it. I think it makes most sense for the committee chair for the West Street building to present it because they have the background knowledge to explain it.
Can't happen. It's the moderator.
I was gonna say, is it the moderator or the police chief? Because he was he was before you, right?
You
Was
got
he
a
the-
co-chair?
Yeah,
I
do
do.
you,
It's just me,
Vice
but
chair.
we can get someone on the committee to present it. So you want someone from the committee to, even though the select, we're an arm of the select. committee.
yeah,
I think the select board can present it.
They can read it.
Yeah, I think you
Yeah.
can read it as presented and there's follow-up questions. I think the committee would
Well, the
probably,
committee, some of the committee was going to discuss it anyway.
yeah.
I didn't know if any of you were going to say something on behalf of the select board. You can let me know as moderator.
okay.
So who would like to present the article?
I don't mind presenting.
Okay. Glenn, we'll do it.
Are you sure you don't want to? You're good with that?
It doesn't matter to me. I mean, I do so much reading now and
I know you're so.
And then if Article 1 fails, you're going to present Article 2?
Yes. Chris, I think it'd be helpful to, at the meeting, to explain what was just explained here, so everybody that's there does understand the process. Again, I think there'd probably be people there that are gonna have the questions, just explaining how it works with the first vote. And if that passes, what will happen? If it doesn't pass, what will happen? So people understand that. And I'm sure there'll be questions that people didn't get all the information before they get there, and some questions will come up, so.
Oh, I'm supposed to be on the stage?
Yes, as an interim town administrator, yes, you're on the stage.
Dang.
I don't know if that was explained to you already, is it?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Funds are being used to lower the cost to taxpayers, which might be asked at that meeting on April 8th.
So he did actually just explain that, but it was the stabilization
How
for,
much money is that?
oh, how much?
About 2 million.
2 million.
And how about free cash?
Nope, free cash, there's no free cash available for the meeting.
capital needs and stabilization. So
Hmm?
you said- said
Stabilization was 2 million and capital needs was,
About $1 million. No, it's $1 million and $1 million.
2 million total.
okay.
2 million total.
Hello.
I was gonna say, I thought we said at the meeting it was gonna be 1 million and 1 million from, one from each at the info session. And we'll know what, for that meeting, Chris, how much how much is in each account? So when we say we're using 1 million, we can say how much is left afterwards? Prior to the annual town meeting where those funds might be used. Okay.
Well, I do want to say thank you to your committee, for
I really
doing,
like the message.
doing the info session. I did see it, and there was a lot of information covered, a lot of questions being asked, a lot of different inputs from different people in the audience. Very active meeting or session, so I want to say thank you to you and the board, or you and the committee for doing that, because I know it's not an easy task. And as you said, when people get up there and they start asking questions, you know, you're there to present the information, not try to defend it. Just presenting information so people can go into a meeting being informed.
And it takes a lot of time to do all the legwork that you guys did and to collect all the information. You're doing it for free. You guys are a volunteer committee. So I think people need to understand that too. And the whole process of it, you know, you guys all came together, you guys all put a project together. Whether people agree with it or not, it just stinks that it takes an informational meeting for someone to tear everything you guys did down within seconds. And I definitely feel like that pain, so to speak, for it because you guys put your heart and soul in it, and whether we agree, people agree with it or not, I think that work needs to be recognized, and you guys did a lot of work for it. So I do really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next is to approve and sign the 2025 Common Victualers License.
And make a motion, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Town of Granby, certify that Ray Rose Enterprise Incorporated, doing business as Bruiser's Barbecue at 125 College Street, South Hadley, Mass. 01075, is hereby granted a common vic license in Town of Granby Charter Days, and that place only, and expires December 31st, 2025, unless sooner suspended or revoked. Dated March 10th, 2025, license number 25-31.
I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion?
No discussion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I will make a motion, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Town of Granby, certify that Ryan Voiland, doing business as Red Fire Farm at 7 Carver Street, Granby, Mass. 01033, is hereby granted a common vic license in said Town of Granby, and that place only, and expires December 31st, 2025, unless sooner suspended or revoked. Dated March 31st, 2025, license number 25-32.
I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion?
No discussion?
All in favor?
Aye.
So next is to approve and sign 2025 entertainment license.
I will make a motion, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Town of Granby, to certify that Red Fire Farm, Ryan Voiland, 107 Carver Street, Granby, Mass. 01033, is hereby granted a license for entertainment to provide entertainment to customers as follows. Live entertainment consisting of a DJ or small bands, 12 p.m. till 6 p.m. only, for August to be determined 2025 Tomato Festival, to be located at 7 Carver Street, Granby, Mass. This license is granted in conformity with the statutes and ordinances related thereto, and expires December 31st, 2025, unless sooner suspended or revoked. Dated March 31st, 2025, license number 25-10.
Can I just see the times on that again? I'm sorry.
12 to 6.
Thank you.
I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Do you have the contract for the building commissioner? It was just right here.
I think it's there.
Right here. There we go. All right, next is to approve and sign the contract for the building commissioner.
I will make a motion to approve and sign the contract for our new building commissioner, Tom Quinlan. dated 31st day of March 2025. Commencing on April 7th, 2025 and ending June 30th, 2028 with a 90-day probationary period starting April 7th, 2025.
I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion?
No discussion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yeah, but you sign here, and there, yeah. Yeah, it's for all three of us to sign.
Thank you. Do both of them, should I roll them together here?
All right, so next was to approve and sign minutes. Kathy did give us a stack of minutes that she wants us to review, and then we will address them next meeting. So we will table those minutes until next meeting.
Agreed. I will make a motion to table the minutes until the next meeting.
You don't have to have a motion.
I was gonna say, I don't think.
Don't
we
need a motion.
right?
Well, it's really official now.
All right, and then next is to affirm and appoint Aaron David to the opioid task force committee. So originally we were gonna have Deputy Avon,
Tyler, you know,
Tyler Avon, thank you. We were gonna have him on the opioid task force to represent the fire department, but he is unable to join us on that committee due to other obligations. So Aaron David joined us for our first meeting last week for the opioid task force, and she would like to represent the fire department.
So I will make a motion to appoint Aaron David to the opioid task force committee.
I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion?
No discussion?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so going through old business, I know, Chris, you already gave us an update for Winehouse, and that the complaints will be forwarded to our special town council, so we don't really have anything further on that. For Forge Pond, Dave Lenart was still working on it, and he had till June 30th of this year. He did come in and present to the board what he was working on, so I don't know if you can just check in with him and make sure he's good to go for June 30th, or if he needs anything from us. Just to make sure we're on track with that, because that was phase one, and then phase two would be funding.
okay.
And then we did receive goals from the highway department, but we are still waiting for goals from the other committees and boards. I know Kathy sent out another email to them just requesting them. So we can put a 5 to 10 year plan together. So I think she just put out another email last week for that. And I'm still working with DCR and for Dufresne Pond dredging. They originally thought we could use the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Grant, but they said they don't do inland dredging with that grant. It's strictly for flooding of roads and stuff like that. They've never done that before. So he gave me another name or another contact that I've reached out to, and I haven't heard back from her yet. So I'm waiting to hear back from that because that was estimated from our feasibility study to be $1.5 million to dredge that pond. So that's,
I would probably add to that, due to the fact it's probably a couple of years old now,
yeah.
price. Might probably look at more like 2 million probably. Just as a word of caution.
Yeah, especially with all the permits and everything that they're gonna have to pull for it as well. So on another note, we did have a meeting last Friday for the Parks and Rec Department, and that was one of the papers that Kathy handed to you guys today. So myself, Jim Petrus, and Glenn Durham met to discuss the proposed Granby Recreation Department. And the paper, Jim, did he email the notes to you?
I've not seen.
Okay, because he just emailed them actually Saturday night, I believe, to me. But I only saw Kathy attach that email, so I wasn't sure if he gave you a separate printout of them. But he typed up kind of his thoughts and what he was thinking, Glenn, when he went around to get different pricing and stuff. So the annual salary, if you look online, which he used ZipRecruiter, is $77,947 for a Parks and Rec Department head. One of the, and he had said, and we did discuss that we are a smaller community. So we were thinking that would be closer to 50 or 55,000 a year for that position with benefits. And one of the questions was whether or not we could afford this. It's not going to have standard hours. It's not an 8 to 3 p.m. job, Monday through Friday. So it will include some evenings and weekends. And I guess where we were going with the meeting, just to give the board an update, is GAA is facing a time where a lot of the parents are too busy to do the background work, which would be on the Parks and Rec Department. So a lot of these parents are, working out of their basements and they're trying to schedule all these games and everything else to keep programs going for their kids, and they just don't have time. We would still have volunteers for coaches, but we would need someone to head the soccer leagues, the baseball leagues, basketball leagues, and so forth. So one of the questions that Jim and I had asked was whether or not GAA was willing to give up that to the Parks and Rec. So wasn't very clear. I don't know, Jim, if you felt that it was very clear on whether or not they would give it up, but he did say there was a decreased amount of people being able to help.
They would give it up, I think, but the question he brought up was the funds they presently have.
Yeah.
Would stay where it is and would not come over to a Park and Rec revolving fund or whatever.
Okay.
But I think help is needed because there's more that can be done. They do an
Yeah.
awful lot, they've done an awful lot for 50 years, so.
Yep.
I also noticed that in the town classification pay scale, there is a good recreation on the scale. I don't know if you knew that or not. I assume that's what it meant to be, but is that right, Chris? There's a director of recreation, a pay scale for the
Yep.
town,
Yep, that would be a recreation director, yes.
step 7, so those are, I guess they're hourly rates, but
Okay.
they're already in the town pay scale.
And that was from the prior one that we had, Chris, right? Because we had
That was from, way back when we had a
okay.
director, probably a good 20 years ago, 15 years ago.
So I assume though that those numbers there are hourly rates, so anybody on there are paid by the hour. That what the scale is.
Well, everybody's paid by the hour. So everybody has an hourly rate attached to their pay.
Right, but some people are salaried, right? Not hourly.
But it's still an hourly
It's an
rate.
hourly
You take it
rate.
and convert it to hourly rate.
Technically, no one's salary. They're paid by the hour,
Yeah.
except for the select board.
There's
or
a
salary.
recreation of step 7 pay scale.
Because we don't know if maybe it's a 20-hour week, maybe it's 30 hours. It's probably something to look at.
So I think you'd want at least 40 at the end of it.
So I think what Glenn focused really on was summer programs to get the Parks and Rec Department person started, in which it would be offered from children in 1st grade through 6th grade. And he estimated, looking at other towns around us, $150 per child for the week. If they're in town, and higher for out of town rate for students. Only maximum of 50 kids. So he talked a lot more about a summer program, but I think what Jim and I also wanted to focus on is not just for it to be summer programs, but for them to take over the soccer program from GAA, the basketball program, and it's going to be a process because GAA has been doing it for so long. So they would have to work with, say, I don't know, Glenn, I know, is in charge of spring soccer, but say he's in charge of that, he would be working with the director and handing over what he's done for the program so that the program doesn't die and the program continues and stuff. So I think that was one of mine, and Jim's concern is just he focused a lot on the summer programs, which is great because we used to have summer programs at Dufresne Park, but we also wanted to stress that it's not just for that. There's a lot of potential in this. Besides doing just for students, there could be senior activities that they do, bus trips to certain places, music on the common, concerts. So he gave a bunch of different activities that this person could be responsible for. And again, we're kind of looking at the neighboring towns around us and what they do, their Parks and Rec department. I did reach out to the South Hadley Parks and Rec department, Andy, because my kids were part of their program for a couple of years, and he does a really great job there, and he's willing to help in any way that he can with us getting off the ground, but we need a starting point. So I think this is really something that we should be working into the budget to get the program started. So I wanted to bring it back to the board and see what your guys' thoughts were on it, because I think it's something that is definitely needed. The parents are getting tired. They're still helping with coaching. They just can't do the background paperwork and the organization and stuff. It's just getting to be too much with all of the other responsibilities that they have.
I
agree.
Oh, sorry, Glenn.
Go ahead.
I agree. Having two children now that I've raised in town, one that's gone already, but when they did have summer programs, it helped us out a lot.
Yeah.
And the cost is actually not that bad for those summer programs, so that would be a good thing. I also agree that, people in town do have a lot on their plates already, so running all of the GAA, like, I see Glenn run around like a madman constantly. He's never stops. He's always on the go. So I think it would be a good plan to have somebody in place to run these programs and help them to move forward.
So with that said, Chris, I know you are finalizing the budget for fiscal year
I don't
2026.
think there's money available for this year. It's a tight budget as it is now. But being run by the new administrator.
But it would have to be before we approve the budget, right?
You're gonna do something like that at some point, if you want to.
Do you think it's something that could be done part-time? Because I see you have an option here for possible part-time to get the position
Started.
Yeah. Jim, do you think it's something that could be started part-time?
Could be, but when you're starting from nothing,
It's hard,
part-time is,
short.
really, like Bob said before, it's only, GAA and the kids are nice, but how about everybody else in between?
Right,
Which takes care of other recreation opportunities for the rest of the town,
agreed.
which is, I think, an inviting thing that our community should have. People who would do an Easter egg hunt, these kind of.
Yeah.
For community building things that someone needs to do. And I think a person like that with the experience would be a real plus for the town.
I think we can
Maybe
always,
maybe you'll find some money in between when you look at the budgets carefully or something.
I mean, you can always look at it for the future and, see how much money is in the current budget for it, and maybe as time goes on, we still have to come up with a job description, what that person is responsible for as well. Well, I think that's still, I think there's a lot of things that are gonna go with it. I think if the board's in favor of, saying, yes, this is the position that we want, okay, let's come together with a job description, what this person's responsibilities would be, to start off with. And then look at it as a, 35, 40-hour a week position, okay? We look at it that way, what that person's gonna do too. I mean, if we're gonna appropriate funds for a new position, then we need to actually know what that position is gonna involve as well.
And I think when we go over the job description too, Chris, I think the town administrator, besides the select board, but also maintenance has to be involved too, because they're gonna be working side by side with each other on some of the fields and stuff. And I want them working collaboratively and not, stepping on each other's toes, so to speak. So I think Jeremy would have to be part of that conversation too.
Or is it something we hire and we put that person into part of the maintenance department? Then do we need another director?
But maintenance is really focusing, yes, they do help with the fields, but their main job is to maintain our buildings and make sure that we're up to code and all the inspections are being done. And I mean, he's got his hands full as it is with trying to maintain those fields.
I'm saying almost looking to put that under somebody else instead
A
of,
subdivision.
well, not under the select board responsible for another, another position, another director, another department. I'm just trying to think, do we need to create another department at this point? That's why I said, I think it's a little more discussion. Or is that something that can fall within another department that we already have? I don't, maybe not. I'm just looking at as far as I'd definitely like to have someone in there doing this work, but I'm not looking to pay someone $75,000 a year to do it.
Right, and that was just what we looked at
Yeah.
on, again, what Glenn found on ZipRecruiter, but we are a smaller community. So possibly could pay less, depending on what, but we are also asking them to get a program going, to start all these initiatives, to get all these activities and community building activities together. So it is gonna be time consuming when you first start until you do all of those
Right.
things.
We're not gonna build the program overnight,
Yeah.
so it's gonna take time to do that.
Right, so I know Jim had asked if there was a committee that we want to start for this, but do you want the select board to come up with the responsibilities in the job description, or do you want a committee to do that? I guess is my next question.
I'm fine with having a committee do it, and then they can reach out to surrounding towns and see what other places are doing. No need to reinvent the wheel, and
Okay.
they could present that to the select board.
All right, so we had an unofficial meeting, because we're not really a committee. So it was just Jim, Glenn, and I that just got together to have an initial conversation, so we have to.
But you're also gonna have to get the personnel board involved to rate the position too.
Well, apparently there's already,
It's already on
But
this.
that was way back when. If job description changes,
but again, I think we need to
Right.
put together the job description and what the details are, how many hours a week it is, what that person's gonna be doing, and then present that to personnel.
but I'm just saying, you have a whole new personnel board, so,
Yeah. Cars, and then we gotta make sure that we can afford it,
yes.
the other piece too.
Can we,
Because it's not just the director, because if I'm reading that, you're talking camp counselors.
Yep.
You're
Which would
talking
give some-
supplies.
Which
You're
would give
talking,
kids,
you know,
yeah.
There's a lot more than just hiring a director. There'll be other ancillary costs.
But then if people are paying to go to it, then that's.
But
The fees.
Sets the cost.
the question, the issue is, if you're talking $150 a week, how many kids are you gonna limit it to?
We said 50.
Okay, so what's 50 times 150,
7,500 a week?
you know? I'm just saying.
Yeah.
We gotta
But,
make sure there's.
but it's gonna be
demand
for,
too.
that's not gonna be for all year, it's gonna be an 8-week program? 6-week program? I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, you gotta look at all that too, because if it's only a 7,500 times 8 weeks, that's 58,000. We're already in the hole. If you're going using the 77 plus for counselors and supplies, because you're gonna have to buy supplies.
Well, I think that the money for the summer program would pay for the supplies and the camp counselors, if you will, for the summer program. It's not
So it would
just-
be a cost.
It's not just support.
But you gotta figure out what those costs are before you would say, we're gonna only charge 150.
Well, as I said, I think
Right.
we need to come up with the position first, and so it's not, like, again, it's not something we're gonna build overnight. We have to, again, if we can have a committee do it, they'll, put together a good job posting for us to look at. And that's the first part of it, is putting something together, and then, those other things is like, a camp or something like that during the summer. That's something that person can look at also too, because you gotta see if there's a want or a need for it, because there may or may not be. You know, people may not, be sending their kids to it, We gotta make sure that there's a want for it, so it is feasible at that point. But like I said, there's a lot of other things that, the rec directory will be doing besides something like that. A lot of different other activities. We're talking about Department of GA, be in partnership with that. But again, I think it first starting off with what we want that job description to look like and be. And then set a salary to that and then go from there.
I agree. I think that's why I thought, the meeting there, that trying to push a summer program for this summer, I think is pushing too much. Because people probably making plans already with.
Yeah.
Summer, it'd be too late, it might not be enough, so I would think that'd be something we're looking at a year from now.
Yeah.
Unless they do a 1 week sports camp in August or something.
Right.
But I think trying to do a summer program is pushing it too much to begin.
There's a lot of work that goes involved to putting that together.
Yeah.
A lot of work.
So with that said, Glenn, you said a committee, so who do you want? So let me back up. Do we have to appoint people to the committee? Because technically there is no committee right now.
Well, that's a point.
And then we would have to have the charge for the committee, which is, well, we kind of already have it. Get a job description and a job posting together for the Parks and Recs department. And I'm going to say director just because we don't know where it's going to fall under yet.
I agree.
And then to collect information on how much it costs for each program, like supplies and stuff like that from other towns, if they're willing to share that with us. We say they have,
I'm sure they are, and I think that's, they said that I wouldn't worry too much about that right now, because
Yeah.
that's something we're not gonna do this summer, that's something that probably happen in, 2026 to look at,
okay,
but I think, I think we've said there's a need for it.
Yeah.
So I think it's moving forward with the position and getting all that together and all the information together. And then the next step would be, if we end up hiring someone for that, that's a lot of the work they're gonna put together.
Right.
As we go through an interview process, we'll probably get a lot of information, a lot of feedback
Yeah.
and suggestions from people that we're interviewing as well. So,
Is there something that you have from the past as guidelines that we could look at?
Kathy said she had a very old one.
Job description?
Job
Yeah.
description and or, yeah,
Yeah, that's how we got on the classification.
Yeah.
okay.
we get that.
Probably back like 2000, that's the thing, so.
But any town that has one, it's public.
They have
public
it.
record.
Yeah,
I'm sure that they share it with us. South Hadley, Belchertown, any other, Hadley, any other town that may have some type of
Mhm.
director in
Or do you want to look, also try and get one from a couple of smaller communities like Deerfield and places like that?
Or go shoot.
Yeah.
Suckers.
No, I think we look at, exactly, I think, towns that are comparable to us and what they're doing.
Yeah.
Again, we need to start somewhere and get the process going. 10 years from now, we might have 3 people assigned to that department, but we need to start somewhere. We gotta start now to get the ball going.
So what would you like to name the committee? Parks and Rec Department Committee? Or search, well, no, we're not searching yet. We're just trying to collect information. So,
How about a Parks and Recreation Development Committee?
That sounds good.
and we need at least 3 to be on it, plus we can put it out there for others to join. So maximum of 7, because you said, I remember you saying there always has to be an odd number, right?
It helps if they're voting on things, yeah. Or 5. 5.
Okay.
Five or 7.
So we need a motion to start that committee, right? And then,
So I will make a motion to start a committee for the proposed Granby Recreation Department,
Parks and Rec Development Committee. Right.
Parks and Recs Development.
Okay.
Thank you.
Second motion.
All right, any further discussion?
No discussion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And so this will be a 5 to 7 member committee, and Jim, would you be willing to be on it?
So brought this up, I certainly will.
Okay. And then we can reach out to Glenn and see if he's still willing to be on it. And I'm certainly willing to stay on it even after my term is done. And then we'll see if anyone else out there wants to join the
Yeah.
committee.
Absolutely, I think
Yeah.
it's even helpful too with some of the previous members from GA, if they want to take part in it.
Yeah,
That'll be helpful.
I think that would be great if they were willing to be part of it, especially when we're trying to transfer it over. All right. Thank you for that. All right, so the DCR tree planting pilot program we got awarded the lowland seats. So I did tell you guys, or I'm not sure if I told you guys last meeting, that the tree planting will be we're supposed to pick up the seeds on May 3rd, and the tree planting will be May 4th. But what I didn't tell you guys, because I didn't know, is that we have to plant them all. I thought DCR was going to help us. We pick up the seeds and we plant them all ourselves. So I have reached out to Mark Bale, and he is going to help out. I know he wanted to get the tree planting program done back when we first did the forestry, or the harvest, I should say, of that area. So Mark Bale is going to help out. I'm not. We also reached out to the Boy Scouts to see if they would be willing to help as well.
How many are there?
30.
30. Why wouldn't you just assign this to either maintenance or highway department? As all I say is because now we're gonna have volunteers, we're gonna have to have the tools and stuff for them to use
Yeah.
and all that, so.
So it's all the way up in the woods. It's very hard to get to. You can't just plant them in that opening going up the hill because it's not full sun and it's not moist soil. So we have to go all the way back where they clear cut it, and we walked with the Michael Downey. We walked with him from DCR, and he showed us different areas that we can put the plants based on where the moist soil is so that they survive. They also are going to give us tubes to put the plants into so that the deer do not eat them before they can fully grow. And and then they're going to have to be watered. It's going to be a process. So that's a good question. So we talked about a water cube, getting a cube up there and having a bucket and then watering the plants from there. So there's a lot that went into it that we did not realize because it's so far up in the woods. And we would probably need an ATV or some kind of vehicle to get up there with the water. Because there's no water in that area that you can use,
Right.
so it has to be brought up there. So we're still working on the specifics of it now that we know what it entails.
So more to read it like having one of our departments or more than one of our departments, whether it's maintenance or highway, someone involved in that. Again,
Okay.
we're gonna have volunteers. I don't know if someone, now you're talking about going up through there.
Yeah.
Someone could fall, they need tools, dig holes, or whatever. We have to come up with a solution for watering it. I think that the fire department they have a
It's gonna say,
drain vehicle too, don't they?
They do,
I believe.
yeah.
maybe utilize. So I think we just look at, we have several departments in town that can partner together. And, maybe we get some people to be part of it as well as volunteers, but I think it's important to have some of our
People involved.
employees out there as part of it, just to make sure things are going the way we want it to go. But
So then
happy
they wouldn't be able
volunteer
to
as well.
do it on that Sunday then? So one of the, when you pick up the seeds, they have to be planted within a couple days of taking them out of the refrigerator, because right now they're in the refrigerator there. So they would have to be planted within a couple of days. So I had said the 4th because Sundays I am off, so I can help on the 4th. But if we're gonna get maintenance, highway, or, other people from other departments involved, they're gonna wanna do it on a day that they're working, which is gonna be on a weekday.
And we gotta figure out a way to make sure we're gonna water them too.
Yeah.
So,
And they're actual seeds, not saplings.
must be saplings.
They are very
They-
small
they are-
saplings.
They are saplings.
Yeah, they're very small,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they give you a 4-foot pipe. It's like, just so you know, it's not gonna be like, oh, this big luscious
Oh, no.
tree that
No,
it's gonna be in a tube so that
Yep.
the deer can't eat it.
Good.
But they have some really nice poplars and a couple other trees in there that's.
Are they like marked where we're gonna put them or just?
No, he just walked and said, put it there, put it there, put it there. I took pictures.
Okay.
Yeah. So. I can reach out to him again because on the May 3rd, it needs to be picked up from Leominster. So that's the closest area that you can pick up the saplings from. So he said he's going to try and figure out something alternatively where they can come bring it here and then we meet him and pick up the saplings that way. Because the closest one was an hour and 20 minutes away.
Well, it's not much more on this table
I'm sorry.
for 30 of them, right? This-
No, I don't think so. Yeah, you can put it in the back of your vehicle.
Oh, yeah.
But it's just,
Right, no big ones.
yeah. So timing wise, as far as when we can get them and stuff like that, he's gonna try and do it more locally.
Okay.
So he said he was gonna work on it and let me know. I haven't received an email back from him yet, but I'll just check in with him and see where we are with that. All right, and then Chris already gave us an update for Mass DOT. Stormwater regulations will be at the next meeting, Chris. I know, the stormwater regulations were with Brian O'Toole, right, our town council, to review them. He was working with Dave on that, but that we're gonna be at our annual town meeting, you know?
I've been out of it for 2 months, so.
Yeah, I know. I do believe it's with town council and him and Dave have been working on that, but the plan was to have it at our annual town meeting.
And you're gonna have to, well, what part of annual town meeting? Because you have to hold a hearing if it's gonna be a bylaw. For our regulations, you have to hold a hearing at least a month in advance.
Okay.
Or-
I'll do the second part of our town meeting.
Yeah, definitely the second.
No, I'm just saying, I'm just.
No, but I mean,
Yeah.
again, by the second part of it, they have to go on to July 1st, right? They have to be done by.
Yes,
Yes.
June 30th. Not July 1st, June 30th. The EPA, I don't think is gonna give you a day leeway.
Well, they can fine us for 24 hours if they have to.
We don't have the money to pay, so.
All right. So as far as I guess I'll reach out to the town council on that and just figure out as far as the hearing goes and everything, so we can move that forward for annual town meeting.
Maybe we'll ask the town council tonight.
We can, yeah. And then update on extending lease for the town annex. So has the board members given that any more thought?
Well, I think, there's two things, what's the costs involved in it. And I think we can make a decision as far as after the special town meeting on April 8th, because that may or not tell us what we need to do going forward. For some reason, or if it doesn't pass to go to a vote, then we need to look at other options at that point for West Street School or West Street Building. I mean, for the townhouse, what are we gonna do with them?
So as far as the town annex though, regardless if we build West Street, we still have to make the decision whether or not we're gonna extend the lease and we're gonna pave the driveway,
Well, I don't
right?
think the driveway.
I know,
No.
and that's one of her stipulations. So I think at this point, they need to be out by June 30th. If none of us are willing to pave a driveway for $40,000 for a private property that the town doesn't own,
Right.
and then we don't know if she's gonna go up in cost from the 2,200 that we're paying right now in rent, then I think no matter what happens, we need to be out by June 30th.
I agree.
Well.
I don't think they're gonna be out by June
No,
30th.
unless he wants to extend it, I mean, and if, what is, she hasn't said no to extending it.
No, she specifically said she'll only consider extending it if we pave the driveway. That was the stipulation.
But if you can get it for 0 rent,
I'd rather pay rent than pay the driveway, and I say that because I think we're opening up something, we don't pay private property, and that's what it comes down to.
And if we pave it and not pay rent, we'd be paying $13,600 more to pave it than to rent it. Because annually, we pay $26,400 right now to rent that building.
To extend the lease, she'd probably go up on that also.
Well, so if we're not out by June 30th, rent doubles. It goes to $4,400.
Right, and I mean, if that's the case, that's the case. I mean, unfortunately, it comes down to it's a cost of us to do business and come up with a, where we have to have a solution. We don't have a solution at this time. Because right now, if we will, we're still in limbo. And even if West Street building gets approved to do all the renovations, still gonna take time to do that.
I think we need another alternative now,
I think,
because if.
We mentioned
if all
it
of
before,
If
Kim.
all of it fails and we don't,
Well, the other alternative, and unfortunately, is the library.
Yeah.
That's the other building in town that we own.
okay,
And if it comes to that, and unfortunately, that might be what we need to do. That might just be a transition period if the West Street building goes through, that will probably be the transition piece. If we can't work a deal with her regards to renting the space there, leasing the space there.
So right now in the town annex, we have the Board of Health, one person, full-time, right? We have the tax collector, 2 people. Assessors, 1 person, and town clerk, 2 people. So can we fit 5 offices and 5 people in that library? Because we've got 2 floors.
what are you gonna do with the town accountant who's out there now? And the maintenance director who's out there now?
But there, you can do partitions, right? And do
I don't think
offices
you're
that
gonna have
way?
enough room to put everybody in there. I really don't.
I mean, the only other option.
So I think the library is less square footage than the annexes.
The other options we'd have to look at would be, going to cost, include cost would be, but we rent some of those trailers. And
those are expensive too.
they're expensive, but again, we're running out of options. I mean, if you put something, I said, use the library. Well, it's not big enough for the space. Well, what's another option?
Can we
So a couple
juggle?
offices here.
I was gonna say,
That's
can
what I
we
was
juggle,
thinking
can we
too.
juggle anything in here and fit a person or 2 and then fit the rest in the library? Or Carnegie Hall or?
Because upstairs we have the building commissioner, the treasurer, Kathy.
There's no room upstairs
I
to
know.
put anybody.
I was gonna say, because the rest are closets, they're not rooms.
Yep.
So it'd be
So you're
down
gonna have
here.
to take part of this space down here.
No. Looking at this room, the most feasible space is where we're sitting.
And it's,
Straight across, means of egress.
how much space do we need? Well, I mean, if you put temporary
Yeah, technically, right.
partitions in,
Right.
the spaces are, we're not putting in any new walls, so, I mean, that would see what we could design a library for, as far as that is. Again, these could be just temporary solutions if the
Right.
West Street building goes through. If not, you know, that we almost may have to look at purchasing the building where they are now.
I think you're gonna run into ADA issues
don't-
with
yeah.
the
Uh,
hallways. I don't think they're wide enough.
So if we purchase that, it
And because it's a town
change
office.
We only have so many options to do things, so
But
I
but
mean,
I'm just saying, Glenn, I don't think that's gonna be a viable option when you look at the doors up there. I don't think they're 3 feet wide. I don't think the passageways are really wide enough to allow a wheelchair. I don't
correct.
think you have the proper turning radius for a wheelchair.
then again, then we look at extending the lease with them right now and what the cost would be for another year or 6 months, because we have to have a plan. You can say, do this, well, this isn't gonna work, we'll do this, that's not gonna work. Those aren't options. We need to come up with, if it means that we buy a building or put up a building, we have to come up with a solution, because if we need to leave that building, we have to have an option somewhere. That's just it, we have to have an option.
I agree.
So Chris, if we rent it, it doesn't have to be ADA compliant, but if we own it, it does.
Right.
Correct.
Okay,
We should change ownership to.
It's gonna be a change of use.
okay.
If we buy it, it now becomes municipal use. Right now, it's private use.
With municipal offices. in
We're
it.
just renting it.
Okay.
But its main use is residential/private business, commercial. We buy it. It's a change of use, so we have to bring it up to current ADA standards. This is what we ran into at the West Street Building, remember?
Yeah.
Which drove the cost up. We'll have the same issue at that place. And I don't think there's really the ability to expand inside there to make it ADA.
No, there's not.
No, I don't think there is really. I mean, the offices are so tight now, and
Right.
I think the hallway going towards Kathy's office is probably only 30 inches wide.
And that's my biggest concern, is we're gonna get caught in that grinder.
And then it would be the cost of the building,
Well, we.
plus all the
Well,
renovations,
we, right,
plus,
but we look
plus,
at
plus.
researching that too.
Not to
Again,
mention that building is how old? Over 100 years
I
old?
think it's what, 1910 or something like that it was built?
I don't know, but I know it's not new.
Yeah,
But the point, if it's not that, then what is it? And it's gonna cost us more money to build a building, unless you have someone build a building for us and we end up leasing it from them. Because if not, any building that we build it comes into prevailing wages. It's gonna cost us, it's just not that, you know. I mean,
Is there any room in the high school?
you know, I mean, I think our first option is have a serious conversation with her, and if she is saying no, that's it, that's fine, I'm not budging on it. Then we need to look at some serious options. And that would be the old library, and who can fit there, what can fit there, and then what our options are here. If buildings we own in the town are very slim, and that's what we gotta utilize, unless there's another space somewhere in town that we can rent or lease for a period of time.
There isn't.
There's not.
There's nothing left, right? So as far as like all the paperwork that they have in those offices, is it like everything they have, or does it get moved and stored over time somewhere?
they have storage there too.
There's storage also?
Yeah.
Because that's my other thought process is, what do we do for storage? We have to get out of the building, so do we get a cargo box? Because those are, you can buy them fairly inexpensive.
But the problem, you're gonna run into that, they're gonna have to be climate controlled cargo boxes.
Yep.
Because of the nature of the paperwork.
Sure.
They're vital records. They have to be in climate controlled.
And they can be,
And that's gonna cost you an arm and a leg for those too. Probably be cheaper to pave and stay where you are than go and buying cargo boxes.
So Chris, we did have a meeting with the owner, Mary Jo Monnier, back when Ira was here. And this is where she kind of laid out what she was wanting and, you know, what she was willing to do. would you be able to reach out to her and we can schedule a meeting and just let her know that the board said no, they're not going to pave? Is there any other options? And just kind of go through what are our options? Because when we had originally mentioned that, you know, could we buy the building? But then again, I didn't know that that was going to be a change of use and then cause ADA compliance issues and stuff. But I think it's a conversation that we have to have to see what our options are with her. If she's adamant it's got to be paved, then I bring it back to the board, or we bring it back to the board and we let them know and we have a decision to make. But I mean, I was pretty sure that she was adamant that she wanted it paved.
Because she's running into issues with her insurance company itself. Because of the condition of the driveway. And the driveway really took a beating with all the traffic for the municipal offices. There's a lot of traffic that goes up in there,
Yeah.
you know? Because the phone company, they just have what? One employee who goes in and out with his truck, or two employees at the most. You know? Personally, I would, to give us breathing room. We're not raising new money for that. We transfer money from the leftover money in the cemetery paving article when we try and negotiate free rent for up to a year.
Well, that's different. Now, I would be okay with paying in little rent. That would be considered rent. That's not my understanding, is that she's gonna charge rent plus she wants that paid.
Again, it's what you throw out to her. If you want, I can throw that out to her and see what she says. And then I can report back to the board on the 8th at our meeting prior to town meeting.
That to me, that's something different. That's, okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna pave it, but we are not paving it for free because we are receiving rent. And a little paying rent, that's what we're gonna do.
Do you want it
That's a little different.
for 12 months or possibly 18 months to give us a little breathing room? So 18 months would still put us, well,
Well, if we talk 12 months, it brings us to June of 2026.
Yep.
We'll have an idea. That'll give you breathing room to decide if you're gonna get portable classrooms or portable trailers.
Right.
Give you an idea where you're gonna throw them.
Yep.
Be able to know how you're gonna do sewer, power, all the other stuff that would be associated with that.
yeah.
And by that time, you could potentially have knocked down the West Street building if they don't want to do the renovation. Gives you time to knock that down. And there's your spot where you could put
Whatever we need to.
your trailer, your trailers, your portable building, whatever you want to call it. Because you have power going there. You have a septic system there. Okay? And you have water. You have a well. So you're pretty well set with all your utilities. You just have to pay for whatever it costs for the units and how big they're gonna have to be.
But I think, yeah, I mean,
I'm just thinking about cost wise, because right now we're paying 2,200, so that would extend it out to 18 months. But I understand she goes up every year, you know, just like any,
Every July 1st.
yeah, just like any rental property. So say she goes up 200 like she did last time, it'd be 2,400. We could negotiate 16 months because it would be 16.67 months if we're going to pay the 40,000 to pay that. So we could negotiate, say, 15 months to pay the driveway, because that's still giving her the $200 extra per month if she went out.
we can always go into, January 2027.
You know, if you want, I can try and get in touch with her and see if she
Yeah, I
says.
mean, to see what options that, we're willing to talk different things to look at different options and what's feasible. But it's, I mean, again, I can't see the town, paying rent and say, okay, we're gonna use our
And pay.
town resources to pave that, which is just adding value to that property, and then in a year we're out, and it's a brand new parking lot out there. And we didn't really receive anything out of it. That's just,
Like I said, my biggest concern with purchasing is the ADA issues.
Yeah.
Okay?
But that's always something we can look at. I mean,
Yeah.
those are things that can be looked at a minimal cost. Someone can come in there and tell us what we'd have to do to be in compliance with ADA.
Well, it's gonna be tough if the doorways aren't 33 feet wide.
I think everything would have to change.
Well,
I mean, even a bathroom, you need a 5-foot radius.
But again, we could, it came down that we could have someone go in there and tell us what would need to be done. And we can also give them, an estimate on what that would cost to be done too. But I think where we are now, we need to I think first off is just finding out, is there room for negotiation, I guess, at this point in regards to that building?
Extending it.
Because we need an answer there. If there's,
Oh, I'm sure there is.
so yeah.
I'm sure there is.
And then that's, where, so if we could just finish up that and be done with that, especially if we could put something together by, next Tuesday, would be helpful as well.
So we have something to fall
So do you want me to try and get a hold of Ms. Meunier
Yeah.
Yes, please.
and go forward? And you want it to, what, January of 2027? Or through December of 2026? Is that what you're looking for?
Yes.
Yes.
Because regardless, we need, we have to have a feasible option in place.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter which way the vote goes, because we need
Yeah.
to,
We need to have a,
she says, no, I want you out July 1st, and we have
decisions.
a lot of decisions to make quickly.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough moving somebody in 2 months,
Yeah.
basically.
But it's doable, but it's it's gonna take a lot of effort to do it. And I don't think she's in it, and hopefully that she understands that, and, it's guaranteed money for her. And I don't know how,
And when we
how
did,
market, how valuable that building is to somebody, what it is, what,
Well, where the housing market's going, I'm sure it would go for a pretty penny.
and when we did discuss or have our conversation too, Chris, Dave said that he could have it done by late June, early July, because vacations are already on the books and stuff. But he did say, because he was part of that meeting too, because we wanted him, if he was gonna be the one paving it, to be part of the discussion. So he said late June, early July, he'd be able to have that wrapped up if we did decide to pave it. So that she had a time frame.
And if we're gonna go that route, then we have to do an article to move the money from the other article to a new article.
Which would be good to have for our town meeting, yeah, absolutely.
So.
Okay. Right, and I'm sorry, Mr. Matthews, you are here now. Do you want to come up? We just tabled your appointment until you were able to be here.
Well, I was just gonna give this to you. Those links are incredibly daunting.
Yes.
If you went through, one of them is like 67 pages, and it goes into immense detail.
So I will actually let the board see what was sent to us. So we had the discussion about possible regionalization or starting that discussion. So Chris had given us some links to look at and Kathy printed it out for us. It's basically a step-by-step guide on where to start. If the board decides, or depending on what we do with the committee that Mr. Matthews is asking. But yeah, the links are very intense. There's a lot of information in them.
Yeah, what I was originally, my thought was a committee to evaluate all options
Right.
for the school. Reading this here, I guess you're required to have a committee just on regionalization. And going through the documents, you really have to have people that are familiar with the curriculum, the students, the testing, the culture of the schools, whether or not they match. Then there's 4 or 5 different models to choose from. Some of them I think are irrelevant for us, but the point is lots of experienced people in the education, like in the curriculum and the teaching and the administration have to, they obviously are on that committee. And also the finance committee, they mentioned, you need to know the cost of these things, whether or not it's worthwhile. And then the school committee also, because they're very knowledgeable of their schools. And like, I did have a little outline that I was going to give you, but you probably already have it, about the 5 major questions that this committee should
Oh, yes, I
answer.
did read it in the.
Yes,
the link.
that. But like I said, the 67-page document just expounds on these, you know. That was basically what I was going to give you, Crystal. But I wanted to also add that I think it's important that the town gets an idea about regionalization. Because, believe it, unfortunately, most people are getting their information from social media, right? And there's talk about this, what regionalization means and how you can do it. And the DESE said in the beginning of this that when you start your discussions, please contact them, and they have expertise to advise you technically how to do it. But what I wanted to suggest is that I'm suggesting you contact the DESE and see if someone can come out to the town at some point and go through an overview, right? Not immense detail, right? An overview on the basics of the flow chart for how do you start discussions and how you might be able to fit yourself with another district, right? And I think that would be important because anything that involves a major change in the town,
Yeah.
you have to communicate with the residents, whether it's a West Street building or regionalization. You really have to stay on top so that people don't pick up some information that isn't accurate or out of context, and then they go and start arguing like happened at the meeting here in the back here. And it doesn't serve anyone's purpose. But like I said, if you could, it doesn't have to be, I'm saying a DESC person because they're technically smart on this. And I'm not saying no one here is, but they know there's a history of many regionalizations in Massachusetts. And these people know the ins and outs. And they can easily, like in a half hour, 45 minutes, say, listen, guys, or people, this is the process. Expect it to take up to 3 years, right? That's what the article said. But basically, that's what I was going to tell you, Crystal.
Okay.
I
So,
guess more or less be the charge from the school committee.
So I remember, Glenn, when we were originally talking about this, they had sent a letter out asking if anyone was interested in regionalizing, and you had said it needs to come from the select board.
I know, but I'm just thinking as far as, there's gotta be some type of agreement with us and the school committee.
Yeah.
But I think, well, because the school committee cannot appoint a committee.
They can have a committee under them, which they do have lots of committees under them, right?
Yeah.
Subcommittees.
Yeah.
But I guess to look at,
I think they definitely need to be involved, absolutely.
yeah, I'm trying to think as to, especially with Desi involved, I mean, I think, the school committee is a major stakeholder in this.
Just so you know, when Dave and I met with the representatives from the school, this topic came up because Mr. Rivera was there.
Yeah.
Mr. Rivera and Jen Bartos both indicated a desire to be on a committee to look at the various options for the town of Granby for its high school.
Okay. That's good.
Okay, so you have at least 2 volunteers who are ready, one from the school and one from finance. Okay, so
Mr. Matthews too.
I'm just letting you know, that's,
Yeah.
No, well, I think, and well, that's what, I think, again, with the select board, as far as the committee, I want to make sure that all parts, the people that need to be at the table are at the table.
Right.
Yeah.
So to talk about.
well, that's why I just wanted to share with you that they,
Yeah.
that they come up at our meetings.
And I would think the finance committee is a key player. I
Yeah.
think,
School committee.
especially the school committee, the key player. The select board is a key player in this as well. But,
Yes.
you know, a member of the select board should be part of that committee. And as well as have, you know, maybe, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe, you know, another 3 to 4 people, from the town involved in it as well. You know, like I said, you have the stakeholders, finance committee, I think speaks for the, with regards to the finance for the town, the select board is gonna speak for the select board operations for the town, and the school committee is gonna speak for the school committee.
So what about the superintendent or business manager or? Because if we're talking financing, yes, John LeBear is the finance for the town, but the one who does the finance for the school would be the business manager, right? So if we want to look at the financing of the high school and what it entails now, and then what it would entail, whether you regionalize or you renovate, or I feel like,
Well, I think they would provide figures to the committee, that first one. I mean, they're not gonna know what's gonna cost to
okay,
regionalize, they're gonna know what's gonna cost to run the school. Not gonna know what's gonna, you know,
You may want the superintendent, because the superintendent's
Yeah.
involved with curriculum development for the schools.
Yeah.
So you would probably want her, I think you have a director of curriculum, don't you?
I mean, to the point, too, we might wanna just contact Desi, and speak with Desi about it, you know.
see who they recommend for the
What we're
committee.
Considering doing, forming a committee, would you suggest should be on the committee? And I think, like I said, that those that I named off are stakeholders.
Yep.
And then now, we definitely wanna have some representation from, you know, from the public as well. You know, maybe we put the committee together, and then we have contact, get a rep from Desi that can come down and sit down and, you know, talk
Talk
to
to
the
the
committee.
committee.
What's the committee, I think their charge would be, you know, is regionalization.
Well, it's all the options, right? So what are the options for
What are
the
the
high school?
options, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't limit the initial committee's options.
No, that's what I said, you gotta give them, but you gotta kinda give them some ideas what to look at. You know, these are some, there's gotta be a charge as to what we wanna look at.
And then, okay. Name of the committee? You're good at names. What do you got? High school exploration committee? What do you got, Chris?
You know, like at the future of educating grades 7 through 12.
Too long of a name for me.
Junior, senior, high school, futures committee.
There you go.
That works.
As long as I understand that junior high is 7.
So that actually, I was gonna ask that too, because some districts it's 6 through 12. I know here it's 7 through 12, but some districts they regionalize, if that is one of the options being put out on the table, it's 6 through 12.
But part of the problem we run into, if we're gonna go and say we wanna build a new high school, MSBA will not pay for grade 6 again.
Because-
They paid for
They
it
paid
as
for it
part of
once.
the East Meadow building.
What were to happen if that was separated? Would we have to pay a certain percentage back because 6 was
I
part
don't
of
think
it?
they would include the kids and the costs associated per pupil in the
Okay.
reimbursement rate. So you would end up paying for them no matter what.
Okay,
Because I don't think they would go back and deduct what they pay towards East Meadow and make us have to come up with that. I think they would just exclude that grade
Okay.
from
I-
any considerations in the school. If we want to include it, we would have to pay for any building associated with, any classrooms associated with that grade.
Okay.
I would think us, you know, right from the get-go, I think is, you know, if we're gonna even consider to regionalize, you'd have to check with the, like we did before in the surrounding towns, and I remember doing that a couple of years ago, the school committee did it, and there wasn't an appetite from, so,
But there are budget constraints now, and I think there are
In a lot of
discussions starting to
Yeah.
occur
No, I
in
see.
surrounding communities, and, you know, when regionalization came out, it was a great thing, because the state was 100% behind it. But as with any state program, as you well know, Glenn, they fully fund it, then over the course of the years, they slowly take away funding, and it's left in the communities. So we just have to make sure by regionalizing, it doesn't cost us more.
yes,
Because if we're gonna just do junior, senior, say, you still have to have central office staff for the K through 6 kids or K through 5 kids here locally. So you're not, the reason for regionalization is to save in economies of scale. You're eliminating duplication of services. And if we can't eliminate that, then it's not gonna be fiscally advisable for this town to move forward. I'm just being honest.
no, and that, those are facts, and I mean, the only thing that would come into play for us is that, okay, we're not, you know, we're not worried about upkeep or continued upkeep of a building we're not gonna be using. Because we know the future of that building is, there's concerns, and there's a cost relation to that. But I think we gotta start somewhere, like you said, in the different towns are in different positions now, they were 2, 3 years ago, 5 years ago. But I think those conversations gotta happen with surrounding towns, and if people are not open to it, other towns aren't open to it, then I think there's no sense to go down that road. Because if someone's not saying, well, no, we don't wanna do it, but if you have a town that says, yeah, we might be willing to do something like that, well, at least we know there's a viable interest out there for that possibility, but if they're not, then why spend the time to go down that road?
Which there was a select board member from Belchertown that reached out that I
Yeah.
sent the email to you guys,
Yeah.
so.
So-
Communities, like you said, are talking about it because they're not in the financial state that they were years ago.
And same thing, I mean, and these are just options that we're talking about, because we wanna make sure that we look at what's the best option, you know, for our students and the taxpayers. It's gotta be the right fit, and, I mean, cause when you move into something like that, that's, you know, that's
Big
not a big change, not an easy, like I said, it could take up to 3 years before it even happens.
And then probably still run into problems of capacity. So where does it happen, and how much capacity do we have, and do we still have to put an addition on a building, or, you know, how does that all come?
But I think the point, the first starting point is to form the committee,
Yeah.
charge of the committee, and start look at things.
Right, so I will entertain a motion to start that committee.
I will make a motion to start a committee for regionalization of the school,
All options,
all options
with the committee's name.
for junior, senior high school future committee.
I'll second the motion.
And their charge would be, so any further discussion, so I would just ask part of that motion be that the charge is that they look at all options for the high school, not just regionalization.
I think I'm correct. All options.
All
Yep.
options.
For the
I agree.
future, for the future of the high school and the students.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then, Chris, would you be able to reach out to John LeBear and confirm that he's interested before we appoint everybody?
I think you pretty much.
I will see him on Monday.
Okay. And then Jen Bartos, make sure she's still interested, because I know that was your original conversation.
You guys are still interested. She was very passionate about the meeting, so I'm pretty sure she was.
And then Mr. Matthews, are you still interested in being part of that committee?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So we have his. So at the next select board meeting, if we hear back from everyone, we can appoint them to the committee and have them get started on that. We also have, well, it says select board, but I assumed as the
Yeah.
school liaison that would be you.
Yep.
Okay. So Dave Levante for the select board, superintendent, Mary Jane Rickson. Okay. And then Susan Crago for the curriculum director.
Oh, you're the superintendent or her.
I'm sorry?
I don't think we need.
Okay. And then we'll reach out to Desi and just see if they suggest anybody else
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
committee.
This is just a starting point.
But that would be the starting committee.
Yeah.
And then we did want to have a couple, besides Mr. Matthews, we did want to have a couple of community members too, right?
Yes.
So again, if anyone's interested in joining that committee, please call the select board office with your interest. All right. So does the board have anything else they wish to talk about next time?
Are you having a meeting before the town meeting on the 8th?
I put it in my phone that we were, but I wasn't sure if we were. I just marked off 5 and on.
Do we have anything that needs to be done?
Well, I probably would like to have the board at least look at the proposed ballot question for the Proposition 2.5
Okay.
vote. And there may be a couple other things for housekeeping type of things that you may want to do.
So do you want us to be there 6, 5:30?
I'm just asking
Yeah.
if you don't, that's fine. I could just get it out to you. Then when's your next meeting after the 8th?
That would be the
Because we're coming up on April
29th.
vacation again.
Yeah, we talked
Yeah.
about all that.
So the
Okay.
29th is the next one.
That's a long time.
Why don't we, can we meet here before that and then go up?
If you want, we can.
I feel like we're always in the way up there trying to set up and stuff like that. and-
Yeah, and it's hard to hear.
Yeah,
So 5:30 here? Does that sound good?
5:30, whatever we want to do.
this meeting's at 7.
Yeah.
Maybe at 5:30 gives us
Yeah.
a solid hour before
Okay,
we go up there. Sure.
all right.
Sounds good.
Chris, do you need us to have a meeting prior to the 29th? Because that was just what we had come up with, based on availability.
I don't know, I'm still trying to get my feet wet, to be honest.
Yeah, so we'll figure it out on April 8th.
Yeah,
And then
that's
if you
fine.
need to have another meeting, we can have another meeting. Okay. All right. So I think we had a pretty packed agenda today. I can't think of anything else I need to talk about next time, besides just keeping the conversation going with everything and, great.
I agree.
So with that said, we will go into executive session 30A-21-A5 to investigate charges of criminal misconduct or to consider the filing of criminal complaints, followed by another executive session for 30A-21-A3 to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares. With that said, we will only come out to adjourn our original meeting. Roll call vote, Dufresne, aye.
Labonte, aye.
Sexton, aye.
Thank you.